Hey guys, this is going to be the second part of my video that was growing up with alopecia, and this is going to be the part that focuses on what it was like to go off to college with alopecia and learning to dorm and open up about it to friends and some complications that came with it. I'm going to begin with the summer before college and what it was like just preparing for college. So it was super nerve-wracking. I knew that I was going to have strangers for roommates. I knew that if they were my roommates, they would have to see me without a wig because I couldn't go through an entire year of school sleeping with a wig on. So at least I didn't do that. But let's start with my orientation for school. For orientation, it was a 3-day period where we went to campus, lived on campus for these 3 days to get used to the layout of the campus and meet some people. And for that period, I did have a roommate. And for those 3 days, I did sleep with a wig on because I didn't bother to tell someone for 3 days. It felt like too big of a concern for me. It felt like too big of a thing to do to bother doing it for 3 days. So for those 3 days, I slept with my wig on, and it probably just got progressively more disgusting as the days went on. I'm sure by the end of that period, I didn't look so cute. But I couldn't tell my roommate, who now I know her to be a very, very sweet girl who wouldn't have cared at all. But I was too scared to tell her. And so that caused me to kind of get off to a bad start in not opening up about it, despite the fact that I planned on going to college and opening up about it. I hit roadblocks and I couldn't do it. Let's fast forward to when I actually started school. Probably August of 2013 was the beginning of my freshman year. And I was in contact with my roommates a little bit. I had never met them. And then finally when I met them on the first day of school, we were all walking to the dining hall or something like that together, and I was like, oh, I have something to tell you guys. Just so you know, I wear wigs, so I don't sleep with my wig on, so just so you know. And they both reacted very well, both sweet girls, and I was terrified to do that. The entire moment from when I first met them to when I told them, and then even after the fact, I was just thinking about it, thinking how am I going to tell them, how are they going to react, what am I going to do, and then of course their reaction did not warrant that kind of worry. They were just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. So where's the dining hall? Like, they did not care at all. So then my roommates were very sweet, but I didn't really become close with them. So I actually met other friends separately. They were the same people that I met in my orientation group, and those are the people I really started hanging out with more and more. Despite that I was with them pretty much every second of every day, I didn't tell them for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks into school, which maybe doesn't seem like that long, but considering you're with these people every single second of every day for 2 or 3 weeks straight, I'm disappointed with myself that I didn't bring it up sooner, because this was at a time before I changed wigs. It was before a time that I had a YouTube channel about it, and it was still the time where I would pretend like a wig was my hair, and if anybody came near and questioned it, I would freak out and be like, oh no, this is my hair. Oh yeah, thanks, like I get my straightened every day. I dyed it black. Like, I was blonde in orientation, so on my ID card I was still blonde, but I had just switched to brunette because I started school and I wanted to try something new. So I just told everyone that I dyed my hair. The best part about that, the most hilarious part about that, is when I finally did tell my best friends at the time, one of which I'm still incredibly close to. Her name is Jill. The first time I told her, I was like, oh, I just want to let you guys know I wear wigs. And her reaction was something along the lines of, oh, like, where are they? That's cool. Where are the wigs? Like, she didn't get that I was wearing wigs. I was wearing a wig at that very moment. She thought that I meant, like, sometimes I wear wigs for fun. She didn't get that what I was currently wearing was a wig, because I guess she thought it looked so realistic. So she was mind blown, and I still think that's hilarious, and we still mention it every once in a while. So freshman year, I met a lot of different people. Friends came and went. The only people I ended up telling were the people I became very close with. I probably only told 2, maybe 3 people. So yeah, for all of freshman year, I lied about wearing wigs. There were some guys that I mentioned this in my dating with alopecia video in more detail, but there were some guys that I met that I went on a couple dates with that I would then call my brother and vent to him about, like, oh, this guy's kind of cool and maybe I could get to know him better, but how do I tell him I wear wigs? Like, that was my biggest concern, was how do I tell him I wear wigs? And I would talk to my brother about this for like hours on end and be like, well, how do I say it though? Like, what if he reacts badly? But should I do it? Maybe I should just never tell him. So again, I get more into detail about this in my dating with alopecia video. But basically, the guy who is now my boyfriend, when I started seeing him, I didn't tell him, never told him in person, eventually made that Facebook status that I mentioned in a bunch of my other alopecia videos, that basically coming out to my Facebook friends about having alopecia, just made a status about it. That's how my current boyfriend found out. That's how many of my friends and acquaintances found out because for the most part I couldn't bring myself to tell these people. So then sophomore year, I went into the first semester of sophomore year in the fall of 2014, I guess it was, and I set out to start changing wigs that semester. And I did it once in the beginning, and then switched back, and then that's all I did. I couldn't bring myself to do it anymore after that because the anxiety I felt going into class with a different wig and feeling people who knew me staring at me and being like, oh my god, is she wearing extensions and stuff like that, freaked me out. And at least this time I was able to say like, oh no, it's a wig, but then I would still get really nervous saying it, and then because I got so nervous I didn't do it anymore that semester. Jump ahead to the spring semester of sophomore year, I still didn't do it. Maybe I don't even know if I did it once that semester. Maybe I did, but I don't recall doing it. So even though I set out that year to start changing wigs, I didn't do it. So then that summer after my sophomore year, which was this past summer, summer of 2015, that was when I finally started to make a YouTube channel. And the reason I made the YouTube channel was because I'm a double major in English and digital media production, and I was applying for internships, and a lot of the internships called for knowing Final Cut Pro 7, which is a program I didn't know. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll get the program and start messing around with it and teach it to myself this summer while I have so much free time. But what content am I going to edit? So I figured, oh, I'll do a video myself. And what do I know a lot about that might be interesting for other people? Oh, alopecia and wigs. So that's how my YouTube channel was born, is I wanted to record content for myself to learn how to edit better. And then I figured the content that I knew best was probably something I've lived with my whole life, is alopecia and wigs. So that's how this all started. The first video I did was my talking about wigs or selecting a wig for you, something like that video. You can see my first video over here if you want to see it. And I was much more comfortable talking about wigs at that point, but I still was not comfortable talking about alopecia just yet. And then my first alopecia video I put off for a very long time because even though that summer I tried to record an alopecia video, I couldn't do it. And then finally in like October, maybe September of that year, did I finally record a video about alopecia. So it took me a while to get to that point. The YouTube channel was a very great thing to mark my own growth in alopecia because it showed that I was finally able to be so public about it that I would talk about it on the internet widely, post these videos to my Facebook so people could see it there. And it was a very good step forward for me because once I started talking about it a lot, it put me in a position where I could no longer hide it. Whereas when I just wore wigs that looked very realistic and I didn't talk about it, I was very easily able to hide it, which for some people that might work very well. If you want to not talk about it and be more private about it, that's totally great for you. And if that's something that you think is good, then keep it up. But for me, it wasn't good enough because it made me insecure. It made me feel like I was somehow inferior. If I couldn't talk about it, it meant that it was a secret that I had to hide because it was a flaw. I had to start being vocal about it because I had to prove to myself that it's not a secret. It's not something I have to hide. It's not something I have to be ashamed of. It's just a trait about myself, so why should I hide it? But then at the same time, I started getting awesome feedback from these videos like, oh, you helped me so much. You helped me choose my wig. I didn't know this wig would be good for me, and now I love it. Or I like to connect with people with alopecia, and I just got a lot of good feedback that made me realize like, hey, maybe making these videos can help some people, even if it's only just a handful of people. I know the percentage of people with alopecia is not very big, but even if I'm helping 1 or 2 people in the world with my videos, I thought, hey, that's great, I'll keep doing it. And yeah, it's only been positive from there. And obviously I'm only in my junior year of college, so I have 2 more years coming that maybe I'll have some more crazy breakthroughs. Maybe I won't even need a wig at all eventually, but at this point, even just from freshman year through halfway through my junior year, I've come so far in talking about it to people. Now I gotta admit that every once in a while, sometimes that anxiety I get from changing wigs does still come back the first day that I start to wear a new wig after wearing a different wig for a while. Now I've gotten to the point where it wears off after like 5 minutes and then I'm fine again. But I'll be honest that I still do get that initial anxiety about it. And the more I change wigs, the more that goes away, which is super awesome because I can feel myself getting stronger and more confident about it every day and every time I change a wig. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Let me know in the comments below other requests you have for videos about alopecia or videos about wigs because I love to do whatever videos I think would actually help my viewers. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.